Back on the Charles River with Eric Schultz, Bill Spaulding. Glad to be with you on the Ivy League Digital Network. Quick update on the men's lightweight races between Harvard, Navy, and Delaware. At the fourth varsity level, again, Navy took first, Harvard was second, and Delaware was third. We'll jump back into the lightweight men's races coming up at 8:30 with the second varsity. Right now, we're with the Radcliffe heavyweight women taking on Yale in the third varsity race. USC will join these races for the second varsity and first varsity. Running you through the lineups for the third varsity race here, starting with Radcliffe, looking to avenge the V4B loss to Yale earlier on. The Radcliffe lineup looks like this at third varsity. Kat O'Donnell, a sophomore, is the coxswain. Elizabeth Ashford, a sophomore, is the stroke. Then it's sophomore Liz Kemp, the bow. Freshman Charlotte Medway's in seat 6. Senior Maeve Hofstadt in seat 5. She's joined by Rachel Milam in seat 4, another senior. Sophomore Emma Orcutt's in seat 3. Seat 2 belongs to sophomore Maria Spillane, and seat 1 belongs to junior lacrosse transfer Jill Sikorko. Started her career with the Harvard lacrosse team as a freshman, and is her second year with the Radcliffe women's rowing team. Lineup for Yale on this cold and windy day on the Charles River. The coxswain is Hannah Malzahn, a sophomore from Edmond, Oklahoma. Freshman Katie Gleason is the stroke. She's out of Sudbury, Massachusetts. Hannah Smith, another freshman from Long Beach, California, in seat 6. Casey Windsor, senior from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, in seat number 6. Seat 5 is Claire Grunding, a freshman from San Carlos, California. Lane Unsworth, sophomore from San Francisco, in seat 4. Adoracian Guzman, freshman from Spain, is in seat 3. Hannah Knight, sophomore from Weston, Massachusetts, in seat 2. Anna Heckler, a junior from Colts Neck, New Jersey, in seat 1, as we're off and running in the third varsity. And how about that?
Nice start there from Radcliffe. It's going to be really important for them to hold on to this this kind of power as they get into their settle and get into the rest of the race.
Radcliffe on the bottom of your picture, Yale on the top. That Yale boat is a good mix, again, of youth and experience. There were 5 freshmen in this Yale third varsity, including a freshman from Spain, as we mentioned. You don't see a whole lot of Spaniards rowing in U.S. collegiate rowing.
No, but it's getting so international across all the boats and at all the levels that it's not surprising to see people travel to be a part of these races and be part of something as special as the Radcliffe-Yale rivalry.
Well, that's a good start for Radcliffe, coming off a race where their V4B was beaten by 3 lengths. Radcliffe has a 5-seat lead after the first 25 strokes.
Yeah, they've jumped out very nicely. Both boats are getting into their settle now. It's going to be really important for this Yale boat now to keep some composure, keep some length, and make sure that they don't let Radcliffe get too far away in these next couple hundred meters.
Is that the job of the coxswain here when you fall behind early, to kind of make sure nobody panics and you keep your rhythm and your race plan knowing you still have so much of the race left?
It comes down to every person in the boat. Everyone has to kind of keep the same mindset that this is a long race. You can walk back. It's really important that the coxswain keeps everyone together, and it's really important that the stroke and 7-seat keeps setting a rhythm that's not frantic, it's controlled, it's what they can do. And you can see here this Yale boat's done a nice job of doing just that, staying relaxed, and they're starting to walk back ever so slightly into this Radcliffe boat.
Yeah, they fell behind by 5 seats over the opening 100 meters. We're now through about 600 meters, and the lead is still 5 seats for Radcliffe, so Yale is maintained. And you'd expect the Bulldogs at some point here in the next 1,000 meters to make a counter surge of their own.
It's going to be very important here that Yale holds on, doesn't let Radcliffe open up any open water before the bridge. I think a lot of this race is going to end up getting decided right around the bridge in the next 500 meters.
And that margin's still the same. It's 5 seats. It hasn't moved for more than 400 meters, with Radcliffe in first, Yale in second at the third varsity level here on the Ivy League Digital Network. Our next race we'll cover after this one will be the Harvard Lightweight Men's second varsity race at 8:30. Of course, we'll update you on the other races that take place between now and then. 5-seat lead for Radcliffe, the black and white, looking for their first win of the day over Yale and setting the table for some exciting JV and varsity races between Yale and Harvard Radcliffe coming up. Radcliffe ranked 16th in the country coming into this weekend. Meanwhile, Yale coming into the weekend was ranked at number 6 overall. It's like Radcliffe's gaining again. They're up to a 6-seat lead and growing as we've hit the 1,000-meter marker.
And at this point in the third 500, you're going to see Yale definitely try to make a big push in. Looks like Radcliffe is still walking out a little bit.
A 6-seat lead. Radcliffe trying to extend the lead here that was locked at 5 seats for more than 500 meters early on. See if Yale's got anything left in the tank to pull it back, or if Radcliffe can keep on pushing.
Looks like Yale's brought up the stroke rate a little bit. It's good to see Radcliffe is still pretty relaxed. Doesn't look like Radcliffe has brought up the stroke rate to anything that they can't maintain.
But here come the Bulldogs. They've gained a seat back. Now it's a 5-seat lead for Radcliffe again. We've gone through 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Fast clip between these two teams so far. Yale closing again, pushing it back to only about a 4-seat lead for Radcliffe. This will be tight down the stretch.
And now it's getting to the point where it's on the this Radcliffe boat to respond, bring up the rating, bring up the power, and make sure that you don't let this Yale boat come through, although they're coming really hard.
Yeah, Yale still pushing. Closing in about a 4-seat lead for Radcliffe. Now Yale's pulled it back to about the 3-seat mark as we pass the MIT boathouse with still more than 500 meters to go. Oh, Yale's come almost all the way back here. Only about a seat lead for Radcliffe at this point. If you're Radcliffe here and you've had the lead the whole way, you see Yale come back. How do you regroup for the final sprint?
It's a tough thing to respond to. You can't just jump the rating up and try to sprint right away. You need to regroup. You need to find your rhythm. It looks like they're starting to do that.
They're stretching the lead again.
Response.
Yep, up by 2 seats again.
That's a really hard thing to do, to respond like that.
Well, they've done it twice. Yale started to walk it back in the second 500, and Radcliffe exploded to a 7-seat lead. And now, once Yale had almost evened things up, Radcliffe is pulled back out by 2 seats, but now the Bulldogs are coming again. This should be a tremendous final 300 meters.
Wow, what a great finish.
Harvard Radcliffe just ahead of Yale, but it is close as could be, and now Yale's starting to inch forward. They're dead even with 250 meters to go. At the 6-minute mark.
Yale's moved out a little bit.
Yale has a 1-seat lead. First lead of the day in this race for the Bulldogs. Does Radcliffe have the answer now? Maybe 20 strokes left in this race. Yale is just ahead by a seat, but it is as close as could be. This is where you're sprinting it out to the wire. Yale still leads by a seat.
What a great move by Yale. Radcliffe running out of room on the course.
Yale still slightly ahead. A few more strokes to go as we approach the flag. Bulldogs in the black and white down to the wire. And Yale takes it at 6:45. Flag came back up almost immediately to show you just how close those two teams were. Only about a seat win for Yale.
What a great race. You could see the confidence build in that Yale boat over the course of that second 1,000.
And somebody in the Yale fan section has a recording of the Bulldog fight song to play when they cross the line in first. In fact, it looks like there's even a band. Yes, there is a band over on the sideline playing. But Yale wins, so the Bulldogs take it by about a seat at third varsity. Our next race will come your way at 8:30. The Harvard lightweight men in the second varsity against Navy and Delaware. That's all coming up here on the Ivy League Digital Network.